There are are state mandated subjects such as good citizenship that is a requirement for the state of Texas, as well as math, reading, writing. And there is no assessment requirements, meaning you don't have to test your child and turn it into anybody. And there are no immunization requirements. If you do have a special needs child, there are no additional requirements for them. But because homeschooling falls under private school, under Texas state law, your homeschool child may be eligible for services funded by both the federal IDEA program and the state. Okay, so we have looked at the legal aspect of homeschooling. Now let's look at what to do if you have enrolled your child in the regular school system, public or private. If you have a child or children enrolled and you have decided you want to homeschool them, then you'll want to formally withdraw your child from that school. I do recommend submitting a letter of intent to the school that you are going to homeschool, and you are going to, if you're going to homeschool after the school year is done, you want to make sure you withdraw your child from the school because they will automatically re-enroll them for the next school year. And if they're showing truant or absent, they're going to come after you. So just to avoid those problems and issues with the school system, I would recommend doing that. Any correspondence you have with the school or authorities should be sent by certified mail return receipt requested. Keep copies of the withdrawal letter, receipts, any paperwork or correspondence for your personal records. And again, it's just to cover yourself and protect yourself and your family. I know I said earlier that you didn't need to give notice, but the school system, I apologize, tends to not know about the law or obey the law at times. So they will try some shenanigans. And so this is, again, just to protect your family. All right, so we have disenrolled our child from the school system. So the next step to do would be to decide what homeschooling method you want to use. So there are many types out there, and I'm going to share 6 of them with you and briefly describe what they are. So the 6 are traditional, classical, unit studies, unschooling, Charlotte Mason, and eclectic. So I'm going to briefly just go over them. Traditional schooling uses textbooks, workbooks, and spiral lessons that add on top of one another. You have a set curriculum, and you're using each year, and tests and quizzes that you're using each year, and tests and quizzes to help determine learning and retention. And then you have classical. So unlike education today that focuses on quick learning and good test scores, classical education is based on ancient methods that aimed at molding virtuous, wise, and curious students. The goal was to create lifelong learners that had good character and were filled with wisdom. Then the next one was unit studies, and you choose a topic and incorporate all the different subjects into that one topic. So for example, say your topic is green sea turtles, you're going to be learning about zoology, but you can also include geography by talking about where they live, government by which laws they're protected by, and how those laws were set in place. And you could also incorporate some art by having your child sketch a green sea turtle. The next one was unschooling. So there's no definite definition for this, and it will look different for every family. There's no set curriculum and no required textbooks. It does not mean that you're not actively participating in your child's education. Rather, unschooling means that the child is choosing what to learn. So your child will naturally gravitate toward their passions, and then they'll do real fascinating activities about that subject. So unschooling is often called natural learning because children have an innate sense of wonder and desire to learn. So they'll naturally gravitate to those things to want to learn about it. Then we have the Charlotte Mason method. This style implements living books instead of the textbooks. So they're using firsthand stories and knowledge to teach. Charlotte Mason believes that children should be provided with great literature and not dumbed down books. And then the next one is the eclectic. I like to refer to eclectic homeschooling as a la carte method. It's basically where you'll pull bits and pieces from the different methods listed above, and then you take what you like and then you leave the rest. So remember, you don't have to just stick with one method. You can tailor your homeschool to your child's passions, abilities, and struggles, and you can implement your family values that you hope to instill in your children. So just like everything else in parenting, you will figure it out along the way. And that's the beauty of homeschooling. You get to decide what you want to do. Okay, so we have covered some methods. And again, this is not all the types that are out there. You could even come up with your own brand new method, whatever works for your family. That's, again, like I said, the beauty of homeschooling. But you have an idea, so now we can work on that idea. In order to figure out which method to use, I recommend asking yourself these questions. What are my goals? So when to finish the school year, grading system or no grades. So you want to make goals for your homeschool. What is my teaching style? How do your kids learn best? Do they do hands-on? Are they a reader? Are they more of an audio person? So you need to find that out about your child. Which values do you want to instill in your children? Honor, honesty, hard work. What do you find that's important that you want your child to learn about? What is our lifestyle and what do we want it to look like with homeschooling? So for example, our homeschooling family, we are an oil field homeschooling family. So their father worked a lot. So I made sure they had time with their daddy, who is also their principal. And, I am the school teacher and administrator. So it's kind of a little microcosm of just the family and how we run things. But if you need to adjust your homeschooling lifestyle for the family, you can most certainly do that. Okay, now that we've figured out which method, we are now ready to pick the curriculum. So remember, homeschooling is flexible and fluid, and there are no wrong ways to do this. So don't get scared. Don't have anxiety about, oh my gosh, I did all of that for no reason. So I'm here to tell you, don't bother with that. Your child is going to learn regardless. Children are natural little sponges and they love to learn anything and everything. So there are all sorts of curriculum out there on the internet. There are Christian and secular, and they have equally good curriculum out there. So you get to decide what would best fit your child. I know it can be overwhelming, but don't stress out. I have a suggestion to help you. Go to this website. It is kathyduffyreviews.com. She reviews a bunch of different type of curriculum from English, math, and so on. So it's kathyduffyreviews.com, and I can give you that in the Q&A as well. All right, so we got the curriculum. So the next step is scheduling. You want to decide how long you want to do school for. Do you want to do year-round and only Monday through Friday? Do you want to do a traditional school year and just follow the school district schedule so your kids are out at the same time the community's children are out? How many hours are you going to school for? Are you going to do the whole day, a half a day, or are you just going to wing it? So that needs to be decided. You get to decide what works for your family, which is, again, the beauty of homeschooling. Next, I want to mention about online schools. These are good. Just remember, you'll be giving up your say in what your child may be learning. It is still a regulated school, it's just online. They do offer more flexibility with the learning atmosphere compared to being in a brick and mortar building. They do have teachers that your children will interact with and turn assignments into. You do have to pay for these online schools. I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked, but I believe all of the online schools, because they used to have online schools that you didn't have to pay for. But I think now they're all you have to pay. You can enroll your child for a single class, though, instead of the whole program. So if you say you weren't confident in math, you could just have them join the math class online, and they will do that for you. They do offer that. Okay, so you have decided what curriculum you're going to do. You've figured out your scheduling. Now you're ready to start an actual school day. So I recommend being flexible when you first start school until everyone gets the hang of it, including you. Give your homeschool a few weeks to even a few months to get into the groove of things. You will find out what works and doesn't, and then you just adjust accordingly. Homeschooling is all about adjustment and rethinking things, and just honestly, it's creativity of what's going to work for you and your child. Again, flexibility is key. So if the curriculum isn't working, don't be afraid to stop it and try something else. You're not going to interfere with their learning. They're not going to get behind. They're going to be just fine. I did not use the same curriculum for all three of my children. I kind of cherry picked for each child because as you get to learn and grow with your child, you get to realize, oh, well, they learn in a little different way than their siblings. And so you can pick a different type of curriculum, let's say for language arts. If they're not a strong reader, you would look for a different curriculum to help them in that area. So again, you have the freedom to do a lot here to actually help your child learn and grow to their ability. So now you're humming along, you're on the homeschool journey. And so I just want to give a recommendation here. Homeschool associations. I would recommend joining a local homeschooling group. And this is where you can meet other homeschoolers. You and your kids can make friends and connections. They're very good for helping you when you're first starting out. They are a great resource to tap for information, guidance, encouragement, and friendship. And there's a lot of homeschooling groups here that are Christian homeschooling groups, and there's also secular homeschooling groups. So some homeschool associations that are here in Texas are the Homeschool Association of the Lone Star State, Texas Home Educators, Texas Homeschool Coalition, and then there's homeschoolfeast.com. And that's the Family Educators of South Texas. They are a Christian site here in San Antonio. So you made it through the elementary and middle school years. Now it's time for high school. So I know high school can be daunting and the work there is more advanced and there is more work required from your child. But by this time, hopefully your child should be able to learn on their own without much supervision from mom. And so by the time you get to this point, hopefully you guys should be homeschool pros. If you haven't kept records, now's the time to start. I recommend keeping records from kinder to high school. You will need to create a transcript for them as they go through their high school years, and you can go online. There's a lot of actually information on how to create a transcript, different kinds of transcripts. You will need to, so you need to create a transcript for them for their high school years. That is a mandatory thing if you want them to go get a job or they want to go into college. So I have a box that I keep that has my kids' tests and projects that they've done, their report cards. I've even placed a class schedule in there, so it just shows what they did for each grade. And I don't keep everything because that's a lot of paperwork to manage. So I just kept just the important stuff. So here's where joining a homeschooling group can be very helpful for your high schooler. They can join a homeschool co-op with the other kids. So let's say for chemistry, they can do a lab together, and that's usually fun. My middle girl did participate in that, and even my oldest one. They can also attend prom, dances, homeschool events, so they're not missing out, from the regular schooling in regards to that. They do offer that. You just have to find out which homeschooling association does offer that. And you can be in several homeschooling associations. You don't have to just be in one. I mean, if you want to join 3 or 4, that's great. You'll have more people to be around with and help you along the way. Okay, so now we're at the end, and what does that entail? Graduation. Well, by this time, their transcript hopefully should have been completed. I would recommend getting the transcript notarized. I personally have 2 notarized transcripts for my middle daughter, and I have I have both of them in the safe, but it's just in case one gets damaged or something should happen, I have a backup. So if you want to participate in a homeschooling graduation program, they do offer that here in San Antonio. If you want to do your own ceremony or no ceremony, again, that's up to you. It's your homeschool. You get to decide what you want to do. I did do a ceremony graduation party for my second child. at my uncle's home. And I ordered everything online, even her diploma, her invitations, her cap and gown. So I made it, just like it's a real graduation. And her daddy and I presented her with her diploma at the time of the ceremony that, we all put together as a family. So it was very memorable. We did cry. The family even enjoyed it, both his side and my side. So they were very impressed. Okay, so that concludes my talk, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. I apologize if I spoke too quickly, but I do have links and whatnots to give to you guys just to help you along further. So I am ready for your questions whenever you are.
Thank you so much for that. I know I really learned a lot. At this time, we'll take questions. So feel free to unmute your devices and ask Mrs. Ruth Hernandez all your questions. If you want to ask some questions in the chat, that's also fine, and I can read them for you. But this time, we'll be taking questions.
Morning, Ms. Hernandez. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Quick question. I am not a mom yet, but I know that when interacting with kids and they are used to you as a parent, it seemed very difficult to teach them. Like they will listen to someone else, but they will not listen to you because they're so used to playing with you and having fun with you. So how do you get the kid to, when you switch to the teacher mode, how do you get the kid to like pay attention and really learn from you?
So what I've done in the past, so when they were little, you have to have a sort of schedule to follow. And what I mean by that is when you get up in the morning, they have breakfast just like they would if they're going to school. And then you would lay out the day for them. So I actually had a printed out schedule for my little ones, and it was very simplistic. And I used stickers or stars or whatever to get them excited about actually being home and to do the school. And actually, when they're home already with you, it's a lot easier than transitioning a child who's been in a traditional schooling to transition to homeschooling. So it may seem daunting and difficult if your child is, you're already raising them and they haven't gone out yet. It's actually a lot easier because you just set the schedule like you would, if it's playtime, it's nap time. It's just the same thing. We're going to eat breakfast, and then at 9:30, we're going to go to school. And this is what we're going to do today. And so you just get them encouraged, and it's similar to their playtime anyways. They're still spending time with you and you are still doing things with them. So it's not going to be difficult like you would think it would be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question, Levi. My name is Levi. I want to ask him about parents who is doing homeschooling. How about his job? Is he going to work in? Is that a part of it? If he's working somewhere, is it possible for him to do homeschooling, or you have to just do the regular from outside? Because if you're homeschooling and I need to do a job, how are you going to be able to manage it?
So are you saying if they're working outside the home and doing school?
Yeah, if you are working
like
outside the home as
son?
a parent, yeah. Is that possible for you to do homeschooling with your kids?
Okay. Yes, it is possible. You can, so it would be like you would have to have like a part-time job, or so at least one parent needs to be home if they're little. If they're older, I would say like middle school and up. So I would say maybe seventh grade and up. They are actually able to stay at home, do their school. If you need to go to work, you can. And it just depends too on the maturity of your child. So I would go sometimes grocery shopping, and I had my children at home and I said, okay, this is what you guys need to get done. Mommy's going to go grocery shopping. I will be back in an hour. And so they actually do their school. But again, you have to set up your child to be able to do that. Their maturity needs to be there. And just, plus I had an older child. So she kind of regulated the school area for me while I was gone for that hour. But yeah, if you wanted to work and do homeschooling, it is possible. You just have to make sure your child is old enough actually to be left at home. And I think here in the state of Texas, like 13 is actually what you're allowed to do. But you can do a part-time job or a stay-at-home job, and you would just have, they need to have an area where they're doing their school at. So they know they go to this area every day to do their school. And that's if you're doing, you want to do a traditional type of schooling where they're sitting at the desk and doing school. Because like I said, there's unschooling where everybody goes outside to do school under the tree, or, so it's up to you how you want to do your homeschooling environment. So like I said, if you have to work and you want to do this, you can make it work. You just have to figure out as a family how you're going to do that. And you need to bring the children in and talk to them and address them and say, hey, this is what we're doing and this is how it's going to happen. And just talk about it as a family. And usually I find, because we do that with our kids, that they'll want to have ideas. And so you talk about the ideas and all of that, and you decide together as a family, and it kind of solidifies the family unit as well, because everybody has a say, but ultimately mom and dad are the deciding factors.
Thank you so much. I have
You're
another
welcome.
question. How do you know those methods of schooling? I have a traditional method, I have classical education, I have unit studies. Is that right? Unit studies?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I have a unschooling. Is that right? Unschooling?
Yes.
And then the fifth one, I don't remember. I didn't get it.
Was it Charlotte Mason or the eclectic?
What was the fifth one again?
There was Charlotte Mason. Did you get that
Okay.
one?
Charlotte Mason.
Yes. And then there was eclectic. And the eclectic is you just could pick from all those other ones what you like about each one and put that in your homeschooling, which I do eclectic. I don't do just one method. Some kids are hands-on learners. So that's a Montessori method. I did not mention that one, but that's another one. There's like so many out there. But you get to decide what's going to work for your kid, because you know your kid the best. Nobody else does. You live with them, you've raised them. So you will know what works best for your child.
How about the website? The website?
Oh, the website. Yes. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let's see. I'm going to give you the what was it? The Kathy Duffy reviews. So
Okay.
Kathy is CATHYDUFFY, and then reviews REVIEWS.com. That would be the best website to go to. You can find all kinds of curriculum on there, and she reviews everything, and she tells you like, this is a secular one, this is based off a Christian, this tells you what's it based off of. She gives you her pros and cons on it. She's what I've used throughout all the years when I've had difficulty with my kids. Like my son wasn't a very strong reader, so my two daughters read very well. I didn't have to do much of anything to teach them to read, but my son needed extra help. So I go to her website and I would look up everything to do with reading or language arts. And so you can go through there and see what will work for your kid, and you try it. And sometimes, some curriculum works and some doesn't. And so you just have to be flexible and not give up. It can be a little bit frustrating because there's so much curriculum and you want to try everything. I wanted to try everything because I wanted my kids to be super smart, but that's not realistic. But it's fun. It's fun to look at all the curriculum because it just gets you excited. Like, oh, I could teach my child this. I could have them learn this. And so, but then you'll find out what is your child's real passion. Are they more artsy? Do they love art, or do they love mechanics, working on cars, or do they love cooking? So I have my son loves cooking, and even though he wants to be a fireman, his backup plan is to be a chef. If that doesn't work out, then he'll go be a chef. but he loves to cook and bake. My other two, they know how to cook and bake, but they're not as passionate about it as he is. He cooks every day here at home. So he's our
Cool.
cook. And he's
Cool.
17.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Brother Romeo, I believe you have a question.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for your brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
So, this is what I have. I know that co-curricular activity is an integral part of our teaching and upbringing of our kids. So, how is this integrated in this aspect of homeschooling? Co-curricular activities. How do we integrate this if we decide to get into homeschooling of our kids? Now, that is the first question I have. And then secondly, I know that we learn from others. As we interact with others, we come to realize that maybe the method we know and we use to resolve an issue, there may be other methods and maybe easier methods of using that to resolve an issue. I may think that maybe, what I know, because I am by myself, what I'm using to teach, the method I'm using to resolve is good. Meanwhile, the person beside me, the other students, they are using a shorter methods to use. So how don't we think that maybe in the aspect of homeschooling, we may be limiting the various methods we can use in resolving a particular task or a particular problem? And then number 3, the aspect of reservation and being introvert. If our students they just stay within the confine, the little square of our house, and then you are limited there. Does it not promote this aspect of being isolated, reserved, and you continue to remain as an introvert? Does it not can this not be considered a limitation to this aspect of homeschooling? These are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Okay, so very, very good questions, all of them. And okay, so the first one you were wondering about extracurricular activities. So are you talking about volleyball or participating in sports? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
visiting, going out. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for that, you can go to where is my notes here? You can go to your local your local public school and ask them, but it is up to them if they want to allow your child to participate. But you can do that. You can go to the local school that's in your community and say, hey, I would like my son to participate in, let's say, tennis. So you can go and ask them if they can do that, and the public school, it's their choice. But if the public school should say no, well, then you can actually go to the homeschool associations I told you about, which was, this one was Feast. Feast has their own, they have everything. They have tennis, soccer, volleyball, track and field. So if you wanted to do that, they do offer that. It's where is my Feast? It's called homeschoolfeast.com. And they actually also do offer graduation ceremonies if you were to join their group. They do charge a fee. It's a small nominal fee. It's not, I think it's $75 for the year, but you can join their group, and they offer co-op classes. So if you didn't want to teach a certain class because you don't feel confident in that, they offer that. And that's where the other homeschoolers and mothers or fathers, they kind of step up and do that for you. But for the oh my gosh, my brain just went blank. For the extracurricular activities, you can also go join in town. My son's been doing Muay Thai for over 6 years. So, but that's just at a local gym. You can do that. You can take them to karate. Those are considered extracurriculars for your kids, or you can do, the baseball or softball that they do have in the community. you can have them join that for their extracurriculars. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So your next one was, how do we do resolving issues if it's just us? So again, that's why I recommend joining a homeschooling group, because then you will be around other homeschoolers, other children, other parents, and you guys can actually, they're a saving grace, because what you think you're going through, they actually have gone through and figured it out. So you guys can talk, or you can help another family. So that's the beauty of the homeschooling group, is that they are able to encourage and help support you in that area. So if you say, the kids also, they play together. And when we were in a homeschooling group, because we're not anymore, because my son, he's my last one that I'm done with. So I think we stopped that homeschooling group maybe a year ago. But the kids would get together, we'd all get together, we'd do homeschool co-op, and they would play together. Like, we had a lunch. So we went to someone's church where they hosted our co-op. So we had like a whole day of it. They went to different classes that we picked. Then they have lunch and they played together. And so the moms and dads would get together and the kids would get together and they have that interaction. But also you're going to have the interaction with your family, with if you take them out shopping on a school day. I know that might be weird for anybody who has children in school, but they interact with other people. And so they're constantly learning and seeing things outside of the world that you may not be realizing, but they are picking that all up. And that's nice, because if they were sitting in a brick and mortar school, they wouldn't have any of those interactions. They really wouldn't. They're missing out on all that. They probably would get it maybe on the weekend, and that's if you took them shopping or they went somewhere. But I see that a lot of kids these days just kind of stay in the home, stay in their bedroom. They really don't interact or go out. Whereas a homeschooling child, they're taken out, they're taken shopping, they know how to go get groceries, they know how to do this and that. Just because of the environment is different. They're not just sitting at the table, at the chair all day long. Homeschooling doesn't take all day. It's not like an 8-hour day. When I used to do homeschooling for my little kids, we did school till lunch and we did all the subjects. We were done. And so we had lunch, and then the afternoon was for free time and play, to do projects, or we went to the park. So they had more time for their mind to kind of absorb what they had learned for the day, and then you can incorporate that into their playtime or just having conversations with them. So that was also very helpful. And we would talk about things, or we would go to the park. They would talk to other kids who were at the park. And if they had an altercation or something, which that has happened with my kids, that was a learning moment. We get to learn how to interact with other human beings and how do you handle that situation. So they do get to get out and learn stuff. And that's, again, that's up to you, what you're doing in your family. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it answers my question. And then just one little clarification I want to get. It therefore means that there is group homeschooling. There's possibility for group homeschooling. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh yeah, you can join, because you'll still do your own school at home. And then so like maybe once a week you can be, with the group. So the group would meet once a week. And they would have like activities together. You could do a field trip together. So that's the part of the homeschooling group, is to give you interaction with other homeschooling parents, and then the kids with the other homeschooling kids, and just being around other people and encouraging and helping each other. That's the main thing about homeschooling groups, is to help you, and so that you can help others as well with, homeschooling.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.